Okay, this is another reaction video, Lost in the Pond, 21 Americanisms that British people use all the time. Well, didn't know, did you guys use some of the things that we did? This is rather interesting, and maybe I'm going to learn a few things here. Like I said, I've never been to England before, but this will be fascinating. 21 Americanisms that British people use all the time.
And that's because...
And this is from Lawrence from Lost in the Pond. Please click like, share, and subscribe for him. And please click like, share, and subscribe for me as well.
Humans finally decided to create a word to describe the appalling after effects of an all-night binge. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond.
It seems like we're on that quest together.
And one of those memos pertains to Americanisms, specifically Americanisms that have made their way to Britain. Now, you might have come across this video and seen the word hangover on the thumbnail and thought, hangover is not an Americanism, it's just an English word. And that's true today. But at one point in time, that word, along with others in this video, entered the English language not in Britain, but the United States of America. And for me, this is a fascinating subject because growing up in Britain, I'd often read newspaper headlines like, "Is our language becoming Americanized?" And the truth, whether you like it or not, is...
Is that necessarily a bad thing, though? I'm just curious. You know, like I said, I don't know. Is that a bad thing? If it is a bad thing, let me know in the comments below.
The English has been getting the American treatment not for decades, but...
Now, one thing I've gotten, which is, now, I don't call it soccer most often than that. I call it football. But because I think it makes more sense to call it football than it does to call it soccer. And I call American football, I call it throw ball. Because I think it makes more sense to call it throw ball than football. Because in football... that you guys call football, it makes more sense. You put foot to ball, makes football.
Centuries. And, you're probably thinking, well, of course America added to the English language. It came up with words like yeehaw. And yes, it did, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about words that originated in the United States and are still in wide use today, not just there, but in the rest of the English-speaking world. First up, staycation.
Staycation is another word for it. If I'm taking a vacation, I'm a week off from work, and I'm just staying right where I'm at. That's a staycation.
About this in a recent video. It is, of course, a blending of the words stay and vacation. Instead of going on far-flung vacations to another country or, 2 states away, many Americans are choosing to save money by going on vacation in their home city. Of course, even in the absence of the word vacation in Britain, the word staycation has made its way over there, and in both countries has become a popular...
And it's not necessarily that I'm going to stay, I'm in my city, in my place, in my own bed. I'm going to leave and go and stay at a hotel 10 minutes from where I live. Some people do that just to have the experience. I don't do that. My version of a staycation is I'm just going to stay right where I'm at.
Word again during the pandemic. Except in Britain, of course, it has a slightly different meaning. There, a staycation is a holiday that takes place anywhere in Britain. Next up, Facebook. And you might be thinking, of course that's an Americanism. Mark Zuckerberg came up with it all. But he didn't come up with the word Facebook. From the early 80s, a Facebook was a directory of names and headshots that was used almost exclusively among US college students. Intriguingly, this is how life began for the social network of the same name.
Yeah, I've never used Facebook before it became a something that you can have on social media. But okay, I did not know that. Aerobics, 1960s. I know what aerobics is. Aerobics is, well.
As recently as the late 1960s, the word aerobics didn't exist. Before then, it was known more formally as aerobic exercise. Yeah. And it took the influential US physician Kenneth H. Cooper to shorten it to aerobic.
Yeah, I don't want to just say what all these are before he actually gets a chance to explain, but yeah, aerobics is exercise.
And while we have him to thank for that word, I should add the disclaimer that he takes no responsibility for 80s gym wear. I was surprised.
Yeah, that was actually, some of that stuff was actually crazy.
to find during research for this video that the word scam has only been around since the early 60s.
I had no idea about that. I thought scam went back a lot longer than that, but scam, yeah.
And while the precise reasons for its origin are unclear, its first usages are traced back to the United States. I'm sure Americans everywhere will be mighty proud, but not so fast, because Britain might have had a hand in this nefarious origin story. You see, some linguists theorize that the word scam might have derived from the British slang word scamp. Skinhead. Weirdly, this word is perhaps used.
Yeah, skinhead. People mean white nationalists, or they call skinheads neo-Nazis.
Used today more in Britain than it is in the United States. Since the late 1960s, it's been used in a slightly derogatory sense to describe a person with a shaved head who's also part of a gang. Those days are well and truly behind me, but the word was in use much earlier in the United States, where it was used from the early 19...
Yeah, I've heard the term skinhead used as a slang for neo-Nazis, I didn't know it came in the 1950s, just somebody who had a bald head. It makes sense.
1950s to describe military personnel that had crew cuts. Who needs the hassle of long hair anyway? Oh, and speaking of the word hassle, that word to mean fuss or trouble was first attributed to the American magazine Downbeat in 1945. Once again, its exact origins are slightly unclear. One theory posits that it might have derived from a US Southern dialectal term, meaning to pant or breathe noisily. We do not have B-roll.
That is actually kind of interesting, because I have used that word hassle before. I did not know it came from the United States. I'm learning quite a bit here right now.
For that, radar is a good word.
Now radar, you could the character in MASH, or how they detect planes coming in. That sort of thing.
Not only is it an acronym, but it's also a palindrome, that is, the same forward as backward. And as a product of World War II, radar, and the naming of it, was apparently left to both Britain and America, and America's choice of radar won out over the British word radiolocation.
I can understand that.
Location. I don't know how you pronounce it.
Now, these are words, he says, these are Americanisms that British people use all the time. Do you use these words? Did you know they were Americanisms?
Snazzy, as in, that's a snazzy jumper you're wearing. Is that a gingerbread man with a lightsaber? Oh, yes, it is. But when it first entered the English language in the early 1930s, the word snazzy would not have been used as an adjective to the word jumper, but perhaps sweater. And that's because originally it was an Americanism.
I've never used the word snazzy that I can remember, but yeah.
Perhaps coined as a blending of snappy and jazzy. Ah, yes, blind date.
Yeah, blind date is you're going out with somebody who you've never seen before. That's why they call it a blind date. 1920s.
And where I come from, this was the name of a TV show hosted by Cilla Black. But of course, in both countries, blind date has been used to mean a date between two people who've never met before. And in the age of Tinder, that would seem to be most dates. Of course, this wasn't the case 100 years ago, when the word fell into use once again as US college slang. Of course, back then, American students had to make their own fun, especially since Prohibition was in full swing.
True.
But just a couple of decades before the early 20s, drinking was apparently all the rage. And that's because humans
and it still is all the rage. And Hangover, there's a great movie called The Hangover.
Finally decided to create a word to describe the appalling after effects of an all-night binge. And when I say humans, I mean American humans, who coined this word on the idea that it meant something left over from the night before. And
hangover. If you wake up with a headache, or you're praying to the porcelain god, hangover.
Never mind overdoing it on the eggnog and brandy. What about underdoing it on the eggs? The genus name Salmonella was coined in 1900 in reference to the American veterinary surgeon Daniel E. Salmon,
I can tell you I've never used that word.
Probably pronounced salmon. It was he who isolated a part of the bacteria in 1885. That a particular word was coined that might be used to describe your reticence to eat eggs after watching this video. And that word is cagey, as in operating with reluctance. And while the word...
That's a word I don't use very often either, cagey.
Originated in the United States as a colloquial phrase, the word...
Do you use cagey in Britain?
It is widely used among British football commentators to describe a defence that's absolutely bricking it.
whenever I watch the football matches, I don't think I've ever heard the word cagey before. Maybe I have and just didn't pay attention to it.
Look, yet more evidence of America's former obsession with alcohol.
Yeah, chaser is like if you have a shot with a beer chaser or something like that. Or,
Word chaser, used to this day in both countries, a non-alcoholic drink taken to temper the effects of the opposite, is first attested as an Americanism from 1894. Perhaps most of us can say that we've experienced the highs and lows of a
Ferris wheel. You get on it and you go around in a circle and then you get off. Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel. In fact, having lived in London, I've
What did you guys? Is there another name for it that you guys call it there?
endured one of the world's most famous, but only one can lay claim to the world's first. Unveiled in 1893 right here in Chicago at the World's Fair.
Yeah, they actually did built a brand new one that's on Navy Pier in Chicago.
And the Ferris wheel was named for its designer, George Washington Gale Ferris Jr., an Illinois native. Well, what do you know? The young'uns were at it again.
Gym. Okay, what do you guys call it now? Gym is a place where you go and work out, or a place where you play indoor sports like basketball and that sort of thing. They call it a gym, and also a place that you work out. Did you guys call it a gym too, or do you guys call it something else? Please put it in the comments below. I'm just asking. I don't know.
Again, that's right, the word gym, as a shortening of gymnasium, appears to have first been used by US students in the early 1870s. Given the weather systems of the United States.
Yeah, the United weather system, United blizzard. That doesn't surprise me that a blizzard originated in the United States, because depending on where you live, you get blizzards all the time.
It's perhaps no surprise that the word blizzard originated here. While its exact origin is uncertain, the OED suspects that it might be onomatopoeic, that is, a word that sounds like the action that it is describing. In Britain, if people get carried away, they might use the word blizzard to describe an inch of snow. Sure, the word
Really? An inch of snow is a blizzard in Britain? That's a fascinating. Vigilante, a person who takes the law into their own hands. Most famous movie, Death Wish, with Charles Bronson, about a vigilante. There's been other movies, obviously, but that's the one that I think of when I think of vigilante.
Vigilante existed in Spanish long before it ever entered English, but when it did enter English, it did so via the United States. While today a vigilante is somebody that investigates or punishes somebody without the legal authority, it meant a member of a vigilance committee when it entered American English in 1856. The word raggedy pops up now and again in the
Raggedy really doesn't pop up that I'm aware of. I don't think I use the word raggedy.
The British science fiction show Doctor Who. Amy refers to the Doctor as Raggedy Man. But 100 years before this in the United States, an illustrator by the name of Johnny Gruelle created a series of
Raggedy Ann and Annie
stories called Raggedy Ann. And even then the word raggedy was old, having been first attested in southern US English since 1845. Earlier in the 1830s it was becoming apparent that American English was going to be okay, and that's because it gave us okay. And while the word is most certainly first attested right here in the United States, nobody is completely sure how it came about. One of the leading theories is that it originated out of Bostonian abbreviations in the 1830s. During this time and place in history, many words were often comically misspelled and then abbreviated accordingly. Hence, all correct equals okay. As chance would have it, this phrase was popularized further during the presidential campaign of Martin Van Buren. His nickname of Old Kinderhook in relation to his birthplace was abbreviated during that campaign to OK. And to that I would say, just OK? I'm voting for the other guy. Who was the other guy? William Henry Harrison. I can't wait to see what
William Henry Harrison. He died in 30 days.
His 4 years in office brings. But from one of the most commonly used words in the English language to one of the most commonly used words in the English language. That's right, the word hello with that very
Now, I did not know that. Hello comes from the United States in the 1820s?
Spelling originated right here in the United States. While variants like hollow and hallow had been around for a while, The word hello, as we've come to know and love, was first found in American publications going back all the way to 1826, when it featured in the Norwich Courier of Norwich, Connecticut. This variation on the word started to be used more frequently throughout the 1800s until it ceased to be just another Americanism and became a well-known greeting throughout the English-speaking world. And there was one well-known American who had a message for us Europeans that would belittle all things America. In fact, he delivered this message while coining the word belittle.
That's...
And that American was 3rd US President Thomas Jefferson. In his notes on the state of Virginia, Jefferson used the word for the first time in the history of everything to describe the unflattering viewpoint promoted by a French naturalist that Americans were somehow inferior to Europeans. That's it for this episode. Let me know in the comments below which of these words was most surprising. I'm Lawrence Brown. You can follow me on Twitter at LostInThePondUS, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel so that my videos don't get lost in the pond.
Yeah, please subscribe to Lawrence and Lost in the Pond if you haven't already. Like I said, that stuff I had no idea about, but it's nice to know. I guess these are 21 Americanisms that British people use all the time. Let me know if you use any of these. Some of them I do, some of them I don't, but this was good. Please click like, share, and subscribe again for Lawrence, and please click like, share, and subscribe for me, and thanks for watching.